Josh Bogner. Bogner was a Marine veteran that reached the rank of sergeant. He was born on September 26, 1982, in Colorado Springs. He served in Iraq for a total of 10 years, 4 in the Army and 6 in the National Guard. He was a mechanical engineer during his time in the service. His father served 34 years in the Army, and his mom was a secretary in the health industry. His younger brother was 31, his name was Justin, and served in the PA Army National Guard, and an older brother named Matt, who was 40. Josh Bogner attended Elko High School in 2000, and then went to Intercontinental University for Criminal Justice. During high school, Bogner worked at Dutchway when he was 17. Before Bogner joined the service, he had no idea what he wanted to do. He just wanted to be part of the military. That is when he decided to join the military as a Marine. Bogner always wanted a challenge, and he wanted to make a difference, and that's why he joined the Marines. Bogner learned about the reputation around the Marines, and then he enlisted. When he did enlist, he had no regrets, because he did not have to leave much behind at the time since he was not married. When Bogner joined the Marines, he went to several training camps and had different experiences. First, Bogner went to a boot camp for his training located in Paris Island, in South Carolina. After 13 weeks, he moved to the MCT, where for 2 weeks he would go through combat training. The combat training includes your infantry skills and shooting skills, where you will learn how to use guns and shoot them. After the training through the 2 weeks, he went to Fort Leonard Wood, where his MOS training would take place to be a mechanics. After 6 weeks of MOS training, he moved on. Bogner remembers the boot camp and how TV and movies with training in it are somewhat accurate. The boot camp experience is filled with memories from his drill instructors. Bogner remembers Staff Sergeant Fulton or his senior drill instructor. Bogner remembers his drill instructor as a kind man who both taught the men but also was an influence to them too. What was did a particular instructor stick out to you?
Yeah, you always remember your drill instructors, because they're the ones screaming at you for 3 months straight. Staff Sergeant Fulton was my senior drill instructor. He's the one that kind of oversaw us. I definitely remember him a lot. He was influential and was able to kind of stick with you and teach you and not let you quit. But he was definitely one that kind of molded me into becoming a Marine.
Other than shaping them using kindness, he also taught them how to be true Marines. Throughout the boot camp experience, Bogner had to adapt to life being a Marine. First, the lunches were the same as school lunches, which he was more adapted to than the other part. But the hardest part is the boot camp. Bogner says that the hardest part of boot camp is listening, and states how it is hard to get through it with the constant thought of you are going to fail. After the struggle of boot camp, Bogner continued. Did you have any complications in the boot camp? Any bad memories?
No. It's not easy, you know what I mean? But there was no real complications. They're not going to let you fail. You may feel like you're going to fail. You feel like that almost every day, but I think it's just how hard it is to get through it. But like I said, the drill instructor's not going to let you fail.
His military life through 4 years of the Marines. When the Marine Corps, Bogner served in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Bogner also served in the Guard for another 6 years at Fort Indiantown Gap.
Bogner was then flown to Italy and put on a ship full of cargo. Then he sailed to Kuwait to unload everything. In his service, he supported the military as a mechanic. Before he served as a mechanic, he never thought that he would end up becoming a mechanic, but he decided to try it out and he enjoyed it. He fixed different types of equipment like bulldozers and backhoes. These machines were then used to push down buildings or brush. Some of the machines that Bogner had to fix could take up to a couple days or even a week or two, and other fixes could just be like a disabled part that would need to be fixed, which would take 30 minutes to an hour. All of Bogner's activities in the Marines and the Guard made him a more mature person and more responsible. Bogner also had great memories during his time in service.
Was there any events during your service that was unusual or humorous?
So you want a good story, huh? Marines are crazy. When a lot of storms would come through, strong storms that would come off the coast and stuff, and be real windy. A lot of the Marines would stick their ponchos on their back like capes and jump off 3 stories and fly through the air and stuff to the ground. That was an interesting one.
He also made lots of good friends. He could talk to some of these friends in person, but most of the friends he would talk to would be through Facebook. Because when you join the Army, you meet people from all over the world, and it could be hard to keep in contact with them. When Bogner left the academy, he remembered how it felt to jump back into his civilian life with his clothes. After the National Guard was different because he knew after the National Guard he would enter the police academy. Bogner kept his uniform and boots and other equipment that he had used while in the Army. After the service, his family welcomed him back with open arms while he adjusted back to the civilian life. When Bogner went to the National Guard, he did not struggle as much. The only struggle that he only had was switching branches from the Marines to the National Guard. After his service in the National Guard, civilian life was back to him easily, where after the time period he would go through the police academy. Josh Bogner came back to his life he lived with his wife and his children at the time, rather than going back to his parents. After his service for 10 years, he changed from a teenager to an adult. From his experiences, he learned who he was going to be, and he turned out a responsible person that he is today. Also, he knows how to appreciate everything that he has and tells others to appreciate what they have. Bogner remembers his battle experiences and has no big stories to share rather than his experience in combat. Bogner remembers his friends and he wishes he could see them and respect them more since they had his back. Bogner leaves a message for a younger generation that suggests that if you have no idea where to go after school, get to the military and do not be scared of it. We would like to thank Josh Bogner for his courage and braveness to serve in the military.